I never imagined the day would come when my own parents would look me in the eye and tell me my children weren't welcome in the home I once called my own. But there I was, standing in my small kitchen in suburban Chicago, clutching my phone, my heart sinking into a pit of disbelief. The 4th of July was just a few weeks away, and my mom Linda's voice came through the line, unusually light, almost airy. Sarah, we need to talk about the 4th this year. I managed a faint smile, despite the years of tension that lingered between us. I'd always cherished this holiday, the smoky scent of BBQ wafting through the air, the crackle of fireworks lighting up the night sky, the warmth of family gathered together. My kids, Chloe and Ethan, adored their grandparents, even though the distance between us had grown wider with time. "Sure, Mom, what's the plan?" I asked, already picturing their backyard decked out in stars and stripes, the sound of laughter mingling with the sizzle of burgers on the grill. But then came the silence. A brief pause, just long enough to send a shiver down my spine. "Well," Linda hesitated, her voice dipping, "this year, we're thinking of keeping it simple. Just adults, something more relaxed, intimate." I frowned, my grip tightening on the phone. "You mean no kids at all?" Another pause, longer this time, like a warning bell ringing in my head. Then, more tentatively, she said, "Not exactly." A cold knot twisted in my stomach, stealing my breath. "What do you mean?" She sighed, a heavy, burdened sound, as if I were the one putting her in a tough spot. "Sarah, honey, we love your kids. We really do, but they're a bit loud, a bit wild. Honestly, we just think it'd be better if you left them with a sitter this year." I gripped the edge of the counter, my knuckles turning white. My mind spun, trying to process her words. "Just my kids?" I asked, my voice trembling. "What about Matt?" She hesitated again, and I could already see her face in my mind, lips pursed, eyes darting away like they always did when she tried to justify her favoritism. "Matt and Jen are bringing their boys," she admitted, her tone casual, dismissive. "But you know how well-behaved they are, Sarah. They're quiet, polite, easy to have around during the party." A wave of heat surged through me like I'd been slapped hard across the face. My head buzzed, and I had to take a deep breath to keep my voice from breaking. "They're just kids," I said, fighting back the tears threatening to spill. "Chloe's only 8, Ethan's 5. Sure, they're energetic, but they're sweet, and they love you." Her reply came quick, clipped now, tinged with irritation. "We just want a peaceful holiday, Sarah. Don't blow this out of proportion. It's not personal." "Not personal?" I bit my lip, swallowing the sharp words clawing to escape. This wasn't just about the 4th of July. This was how they'd always treated my children, like an inconvenience, a burden, while Matt's boys were put on a pedestal. They'd driven hours to watch Matt's oldest play Little League, but never once showed up for Chloe's violin recitals. Christmas gifts for Matt's kids were always extravagant: remote control cars, shiny new bikes, while Chloe and Ethan got cheap trinkets, sometimes lumped together in one box like they didn't deserve individual attention. And now they weren't even hiding it anymore. "I can't believe this," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. "You're seriously telling me my kids aren't welcome, but Matt's are?" "Oh, Sarah, don't be so dramatic," Linda sighed, sounding exasperated. "You and Ryan are still invited, of course." I let out a bitter laugh, dry and hollow, echoing in the quiet kitchen. They wanted me there, but not the two people I loved most in this world, Chloe and Ethan. As if I were some decoration for their perfect little party, while my kids were trash to be left behind. I took a shaky breath, steadying myself. No, Mom, I said, each word carved from the ache in my chest. If my kids aren't welcome, neither am I. A long silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. Then Linda huffed, as if I were the unreasonable one. "Suit yourself," she snapped, her voice icy, and with that she hung up, no goodbye, no trace of regret. I stood there, my breathing uneven, still clutching the phone, like I could crush it in my hand. From the backyard, Chloe and Ethan's laughter floated in, bright, carefree sounds as they splashed each other with water balloons under the late afternoon sun. They had no idea their grandparents, the ones they adored, the ones they'd drawn pictures for in art class, had just cast them aside like they were nothing more than a nuisance. I took a deep breath, my mind racing. I'd spent my whole life trying to please my parents, chasing their approval, convincing myself their favoritism toward Matt wasn't as bad as it seemed. I'd told myself that deep down, they loved us all equally. But today, they'd ripped that illusion to shreds, leaving me with the raw truth. They didn't see my kids as their grandchildren, not the way they saw Matt's boys. And if I let this slide, if I drove to that party and smiled while Chloe and Ethan sat at home with a stranger, wondering why they weren't good enough, what kind of mother would I be? No, I couldn't do it anymore. They'd made their choice. Now it was time for me to make mine. The minutes after that call felt like hours. I stood, frozen in the kitchen, staring at the phone on the counter as the hum of the fridge filled the silence. Chloe and Ethan's laughter pulled me back, a lifeline in the storm of my thoughts. I stepped to the back door, leaning against the frame, watching them play. Chloe, her blonde hair tied up in a messy ponytail, aimed a water balloon at Ethan, who dodged just in time, only to trip and fall onto the grass, giggling as water splashed everywhere. They were my everything, innocent, joyful kids who didn't deserve to be treated like a burden. I wiped a tear from my cheek, forcing a smile. "Hey, you two," I called, keeping my voice light. "Who's up for making burgers tonight?" Ethan bolted toward me, his little legs pumping across the yard. "Me! I want the biggest one!" Chloe followed, her eyes sparkling. "Mom, can I add extra cheese?" I nodded, pulling them both into a hug, their small bodies warm against mine. "Of course, sweetie," I whispered, my voice nearly breaking. In that moment, I knew I had to be strong, not for my parents, but for Chloe and Ethan. They didn't need grandparents to feel loved. They had me, and I'd make damn sure they never felt less than enough. But the anger inside me wouldn't settle. It smoldered, a quiet fire beneath the surface. The next day, I got a text from Matt. "Mom says you're overreacting about the 4th. Why do you always turn everything into drama?" I stared at the screen, my jaw clenching. Of course, she'd gone straight to Matt, the golden child, to paint me as the villain. My fingers shook as I typed back. "Did she tell you she uninvited Chloe and Ethan but invited your kids?" The typing dots appeared, then vanished. A minute passed before he replied. "She just wants a calm holiday, Sarah. You know your kids can be a lot. A lot." The words stabbed into me like a knife, as if Chloe and Ethan were something to tolerate, not cherish. I fired back, my voice echoing in my head as I typed, "Enjoy your perfect holiday with your perfect family. I won't be there." I turned off my phone before he could respond, tossing it onto the couch. If they didn't want me or my kids in their world, fine. I didn't need their world either. Over the next few days, I started pulling away. When Dad Greg called asking me to book train tickets for their summer fishing trip, I let it go to voicemail. When Mom texted asking me to send money for a new air conditioner, I left it unread. I'd always been the reliable one. The one who showed up when they needed groceries picked up, their computer fixed, or a family party organized while Matt did the bare minimum and basked in their praise. But now, if I wasn't part of their preferred family, they didn't get to benefit from me anymore. The 4th of July arrived, and instead of driving 2 hours to my parents' town, I stayed home. Ryan, my best friend, my rock since the divorce, came over to help set up a little BBQ in the backyard. Chloe and Ethan darted around, wearing paper hats shaped like the American flag they'd made at school, shrieking with delight as Ryan pretended to drop a burger patty. I stood there, a cold soda in hand, watching my little family under the fading sunlight. No stress, no pressure to please anyone. Just laughter, the smell of grilled meat, and a peace I hadn't felt in years of holidays past. Then my phone rang. I glanced at the screen. Mom. I let it ring, but she called again, then a third time. Ryan shot me a look, one eyebrow raised. Want me to turn it off? I shook my head, sighing. No, if it's an emergency, I should know. I swiped to answer, keeping my voice flat. What is it, Mom? Oh, so now you pick up, Linda huffed. I suppose you're just sitting at home feeling sorry for yourself while we're all here having a lovely time. I gripped the phone tighter, fighting to stay calm. If you called to gloat, I don't have time. That's not why I called, she snapped, her tone sharpening. I need to ask you something. A chill crept up my spine. What? Did you cancel the credit card? She demanded, her voice tight. The world seemed to freeze, though Chloe and Ethan's giggles still echoed from the yard. I turned away from Ryan, lowering my voice. What are you talking about? Your dad's credit card, she said. The one we use for groceries, gas, essentials. It was declined this morning. Ice spread through my veins as the realization hit. That wasn't their card. It was mine. Years ago, when Dad had a car accident and was out of work, I'd added them as authorized users on my credit card to help them through. I'd meant to remove them once they were back on their feet, but life got busy, work, the kids, and I forgot. They never reminded me, and I'd naively assumed they'd stopped using it. But now, they'd been quietly spending my money all this time, acting like it was their right. You mean my credit card? I asked, my voice shaking with fury. Linda scoffed. Oh, don't be so dramatic, Sarah. It's just a card. You make decent money. We figured you didn't mind. Didn't mind? I nearly shouted, but caught myself glancing at the kids. You thought I wouldn't notice you using my money without asking? After you told me my kids weren't good enough for your 4th of July, you still expected me to pay for you. She let out a long theatrical sigh. Sarah, this is exactly why we don't like talking to you. You always overreact. Overreact? I laughed, a cold, cutting sound. You're right about one thing. I did cancel that card. And let's be clear, you won't see another cent from me, ever. She gasped like I'd struck her. Sarah, don't be ridiculous. No, I cut her off, my voice steady and sharp. You made your choice when you said Chloe and Ethan weren't welcome. Now I'm making mine. Don't call again. I hung up, my hands trembling as I set the phone down. Ryan watched me from the yard, concern in his eyes. Everything okay? I forced a small smile. Yeah, I said, steadier than I felt. Just taking out the trash. He didn't push, turning back to the kids, leaving me to wrestle with the storm inside. That night, we set off fireworks in the backyard. Chloe and Ethan cheered, chasing the sparks as they burst across the sky. Ryan stood beside me, handing me a cold beer. You did good, he said softly, his eyes warm. I smiled, a real one this time. Thanks. For the first time in years, the 4th wasn't about pleasing others. It was ours. Mine, Chloe's, Ethan's, and Ryan's. The family I'd built from the ashes of old expectations. But I knew my parents weren't done. 3 days later, Matt called. I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. What the hell, Sarah? He barked the second I picked up. Mom just called me crying, saying you cut them off. What's wrong with you? I closed my eyes, pinching the bridge of my nose. Did she tell you they've been using my credit card for years without asking? A pause. Well, she said you were helping them out, he mumbled. Helping? I let out a humorless laugh. They've racked up thousands on my account, Matt, while treating my kids like garbage. But sure, I'm the bad guy. He sighed, trying to keep his cool. I get that you're mad, but cutting them off completely? That's extreme. Extreme? I shot back. Like how they excluded my kids from the fourth, but welcomed yours? He groaned. They just wanted a peaceful day, Sarah. Mom said your kids can be wild. My grip on the phone tightened. Oh, I see. They can use my money, but my kids aren't good enough for their party. Got it. He groaned again. You're twisting this. No, Matt, I said, my voice icy. I'm finally seeing it for what it is. A long pause, then his tone shifted, calculating. Look, maybe we can work something out. What if you kept helping them, but set limits, like a few $100 a month? No one has to suffer over a misunderstanding. A cold laugh bubbled up in my throat. Let me get this straight. You want me to keep sending them money after they told me they love your kids more than mine? They said it, Matt. He didn't reply right away, and I knew I'd hit a nerve. They didn't mean it like that, he grumbled, unconvincing. They said it, I repeated. Enjoy your perfect family. I'm done. I hung up, my hands still shaking. Weeks passed, and my parents played the silent game. No calls, no texts. I figured they were waiting for me to cave, to come crawling back, begging for their forgiveness like I always had. But this time, I didn't need it. And just when I thought they'd given up, they pulled one last desperate move. A week before Christmas, Ryan brought in a letter from the mailbox. From your parents, he said, frowning as he handed it to me. My stomach twisted as I tore it open. Inside was a legal document demanding reimbursement for years of emotional and financial support. I laughed, a loud, incredulous sound echoing in the living room. They've got to be kidding. Ryan scanned it. They say you owe them for raising you, for sacrifices they made. Almost $80,000. He looked up, jaw tight. They're billing you for your childhood? I nodded, anger blazing in my chest. This wasn't about money. It was control. A final attempt to drag me back into their grip. Fine, I said, standing. Time to face them. The next day, I drove to their house. The letter crumpled in my hand. I knocked, and when Linda opened the door, her face hardened. Oh, so now you show up, she sneered. I held up the letter. You really thought this would work? She crossed her arms. It's what's fair. I laughed sharply. Fair? You want to charge me for being your kid while expecting me to fund you forever? Greg appeared behind her, smug. We sacrificed a lot for you, Sarah. Now you're abandoning us. I stared at them, shaking my head. No, Dad, you abandoned me when you said Chloe and Ethan weren't good enough, when you used my money without asking, when you put a price on my worth. Linda's lips thinned. If you won't pay, we'll get lawyers. I met her gaze, unflinching. Go ahead. Explain to a judge why you're suing your daughter for expenses from 20 years ago. See how that goes. Silence. For the first time, they looked unsure. Greg cleared his throat. We just thought you'd want to make things right. I laughed, tearing the letter in half. I am, right now. I turned and walked back to my car, lighter than I'd ever felt. But they wouldn't let go. New Year's Eve, as I set up a snack table for Chloe and Ethan, The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Matt, Jen, Linda, and Greg standing there. Linda smiled, forced and syrupy. "We just want to talk." "No thanks," I said flatly. Greg sighed. "Sarah, enough. Let's fix this before it's too late." "Too late?" I narrowed my eyes. Matt stepped forward. "Mom and Dad talked to a lawyer about grandparents' rights. They're worried you're cutting Chloe and Ethan off from their real family." I laughed, loud and sharp, cutting through the festive music. "Real family? You kicked them out of the fourth, used my money, and now you think you can force your way back in?" Linda stiffened. "We've done nothing wrong." "Nothing wrong?" I shouted, my control snapping. "You treated my kids like trash, and now you want to take them because I stopped funding you. Get out and try me." I held up my phone. "I've got everything. Texts, voicemails, proof. Push me, and I'll bury you." Silence fell. Then Linda snarled, "You'll regret this." "Happy New Year," I said sweetly, slamming the door. Months later, they did nothing. No lawsuit, no contact. And for the first time, I felt truly free. One spring afternoon, I sat on the porch, watching Chloe and Ethan chase bubbles in the yard, their laughter ringing like bells. Ryan handed me a lemonade and sat beside me. "Quiet, lately," he said. I nodded, smiling. "Feels good," he smirked. "Think they'll try again?" I sipped my drink, watching my kids pop bubbles with glee. "Doesn't matter. I've got my real family. And I'd never let anyone make Chloe and Ethan feel unwanted again." Lesson learned. Life's too short to live under manipulation or toxic relationships, even with family. Sometimes walking away isn't giving up. It's taking back your power. Cherish those who truly value you, and don't be afraid to leave when someone can't see your worth. Family isn't what you're born into. It's what you build with love, respect, and honesty. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and comment below with your thoughts. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more stories like this. Tales of courage, love, and freedom we can all learn from. Let's spread these lessons together because someone out there might need to hear this right now.